So what conclusions do we draw from the colonial experience of the English? Well, the thing that you need to take away is that England tried to create colonies as money-making ventures. It was capitalism. It was mercantilism. It was the idea of the joint stock company, some way for them to make money by deriving resources and markets from a foreign land. However, because the English government didn't have the money to do it, they let private companies invest and then took over the colonies later. That meant the companies and the people who colonized had an experience with self-government. They'd tried it before. Now, internal problems prevented the utilization of this potential wealth in the colonies. What we call this time, when England's distracted in Europe, they call it salutary neglect, which means helpful ignoring. It gave this opportunity for self-government to take hold. Massachusetts and Virginia, and again, Virginia loses it pretty quick, but these smaller towns and colonies got the opportunity to govern themselves. It's only gradually, throughout the 17th century, that England will scoop up its colonies and make them royal property. So England's sort of like that parent who's never been involved in your life before, jumping in and starting to tell you what to do. The colonies sort of get angry at this. Certainly members of the colonial elite do, because their power's been taken away. Plus, because of the way the colonies operated, a lot of people owned land in the colonies, which meant they had a stake. They could vote. In England, that didn't necessarily take place. In the colonies, far more people had the right to vote and had a say in what happened in the colony itself. That makes them vested in what the future holds. So the situation that we're left with is one in which each colony has been relatively autonomous, gave people control of their governments at a local level, very real power, power that was denied to them in England. And then the power is taken away by the English government over time. In Virginia, it happened in 1624. In other colonies, they get pulled in later. But as the crown absorbs these colonies, it starts to re-gear them as cash cows, places where you can collect taxes for the government itself, instead of areas that should be self-governing. That leads to a situation where the colonies chafe against the power of England, despite the fact that they have a great deal of cultural identity that's tied up with being English. So what I want you to take away from colonial government is that because of external and internal circumstances, the founding of the colonies set up a situation where eventually conflict would ensue. After ignoring the colonies for so long, England came in and tried to change the relationship between themselves and these areas that had existed for their economic benefit. That change, again, because Puritan people in general want slow change or unnoticeable change, it meant what we had for a circumstance were colonies who were used to governing themselves suddenly being told what to do. And as a teenager, I would imagine that you sympathize with that cause, you know what you want to do, and you're sick of having people tell you about it. And on that note, I'm going to stop telling you about colonial government.